He won't even look at them in the face. He keeps turning. Like, Sophie even went up at one point and is like tapping on his arm. He would not even look at them.
I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games.
So as you can see after the game, Caitlin Clark and Sophie are both running up to the referee here. They are both so upset, and the referee is just walking away from them.
Shockwaves are ripping through the WNBA as a stunning scandal erupts involving superstar Caitlin Clark and an explosive refereeing controversy. Fans are outraged, players are speaking out, and now WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert has been suspended in the fallout. What really happened on the court? Was the league trying to cover it up? The truth is finally coming to light, and it's bigger than anyone expected. Stay tuned as we break down the scandal that's shaking women's basketball to its core. Caitlin Clark and the referee controversy that rocked the WNBA. When Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA, the expectations were sky high. Fresh off a record-breaking college career that turned her into a household name, Clark was heralded as the future of women's basketball. Her court vision, long-range shooting, and intensity were exactly what the league needed to attract a new generation of fans. But what no one anticipated was that Clark's early professional journey would be marked not just by on-court performances, but by a controversy that shook the WNBA to its core. At the center of the storm, a string of questionable officiating decisions that many felt unfairly targeted Clark during her debut season. What began as frustration over inconsistent calls quickly spiraled into a full-fledged scandal, drawing the ire of fans, the scrutiny of analysts, and eventually, repercussions at the highest levels of league leadership. A game-changing flashpoint. The controversy came to a head during a high-stakes game early in the season. Clark, playing with her trademark tenacity, was involved in a hard foul that sparked debate across social media. Referees handed her a technical foul, a decision that drew boos from the crowd and instant backlash online. Replays showed what many deemed to be illegal, if aggressive, play. The call, however, stood, and it lit the fuse. Critics argued that Clark, rather than being protected as a rising star, was being subjected to unusually harsh treatment. Some believed it was an attempt by officials to send a message to the rookie, whose popularity had already eclipsed many veteran players. Others suspected unconscious bias, or worse, a reluctance within parts of the league to fully embrace the attention Clark was bringing. As one analyst put it during a national broadcast, it's not just about one call, it's about a pattern. When the league's biggest draw isn't given a fair shot, everyone suffers. A growing chorus of concern. The outcry that followed wasn't limited to social media outrage. Former players, coaches, and commentators began voicing their concerns about the officiating. ESPN panels dedicated entire segments to the topic. Hashtags like Protect Caitlin and WNBA Fair Play trended for days. The calls for fairness weren't merely emotional, they were systemic. Observers pointed out that Clark's play style, though assertive, had been praised in college as a model of leadership and skill. Why then was it suddenly being penalized in the professional ranks? Even some of Clark's on-court rivals stepped into the conversation, acknowledging the importance of preserving integrity and consistency in the game, regardless of who's involved. "We're all professionals," one veteran player said. "We deserve to be judged by the same standard." The moment marked a cultural shift. Where previous controversies may have quietly dissipated, this one refused to go away. Fans, especially younger women and girls who saw Clark as a role model, began demanding not just an apology, but reform. Commissioner Engelbert under scrutiny. As the backlash intensified, pressure turned toward WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert. The former Deloitte CEO had been widely credited with guiding the league through a period of growth and increased visibility. But now, her silence in the wake of the officiating controversy was fueling frustration. Initially, the league issued vague statements about ongoing evaluations of referees and respect for the officiating process. But many felt these responses failed to address the core issues, namely whether referees were treating Clark fairly and what accountability measures were in place for inconsistent calls. Engelbert's leadership was suddenly under fire. Some critics accused her of protecting the league's image at the expense of one of its most important assets, its players. Others argued that the slow response reflected a broader disconnect between league officials and the day-to-day realities of the court. sports media outlets began investigating the league's officiating oversight process, uncovering what appeared to be a lack of transparency in how referee performance was monitored and reviewed. The scandal was no longer about Caitlin Clark. It had become a referendum on how the WNBA handles its most critical decisions. The suspension that sent shockwaves. Then came the development that few had predicted. Commissioner Engelbert was suspended. The announcement, made following an internal review, cited failures in leadership related to the handling of officiating concerns and communication breakdowns with players and teams. The decision was unprecedented. Never before had a sitting commissioner of a major U.S. sports league been suspended under such circumstances. The league's Board of Governors issued a statement reaffirming its commitment to integrity, transparency, and player safety. "We must be better," the statement read. "Our players and fans deserve nothing less." In the aftermath, reports revealed that complaints from players about officiating inconsistencies had gone unaddressed for months, and that Engelbert had been warned internally about growing discontent. For many inside and outside the league, the suspension was seen as a necessary course correction. "It's not about punishing one person," said one WNBA team executive. "It's about fixing the system that allowed this to happen in the first place." Caitlin Clark, from star player to symbol of reform. Through it all, Caitlin Clark remained poised. She avoided inflammatory statements, continuing to focus on her game while subtly advocating for fairness in post-game interviews. Her restraint only elevated her in the public eye. She became more than a standout rookie. She became the face of a movement demanding accountability and respect in women's professional sports. Clark's ability to shoulder the scrutiny with grace made her a powerful figure in the growing conversation around athlete empowerment. For many, her experience highlighted the need for structural change, not just in officiating, but in how young stars are supported and protected as they enter the league. "I just want to play the game I love and be treated fairly while doing it," Clark told reporters during one press conference. "That's all any of us want." A defining moment for the WNBA. The fallout from the scandal will likely shape the WNBA for years to come. A new interim commissioner has promised a thorough review of officiating protocols, the implementation of referee accountability metrics, and increased communication with players and coaching staff. Meanwhile, fans are watching closely. Many see this as a turning point, a moment when the league can either embrace reform or risk alienating its most loyal supporters. The stakes are high, but so is the opportunity. Caitlin Clark's legacy may ultimately be defined not just by her stats or titles, but by the cultural shift she helped ignite. In an era where visibility and integrity matter more than ever, the WNBA now faces the challenge of living up to the standard that players like Clark have helped set. Caitlin Clark and the wake-up call that shook the WNBA. Caitlin Clark's debut season in the WNBA was supposed to be a celebration, a seamless continuation of her electrifying college career. With a game defined by long-range shooting, pinpoint passing, and a calm under pressure, she had already become the face of women's basketball before she ever played a minute professionally. But as the season unfolded, a different narrative took center stage. One not about her performance, but about the officiating surrounding it. What began as a few questionable calls escalated into a full-blown scandal that called into question the integrity of the league's officiating. For many fans, the inconsistency in how Clark was officiated didn't just look unfair, it felt personal. Her treatment sparked outrage, ignited social media movements, and prompted scrutiny of how rising stars, particularly Clark, were being handled by league referees. It didn't take long for the conversation to move beyond referees. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert came under fire for what critics called a dismissive and slow response. As frustration built, fans and players alike demanded answers and change. Engelbert's eventual suspension was both shocking and telling. The WNBA had reached a breaking point, and leadership was no longer shielded from the consequences of inaction. Clark's influence extends beyond the box score. While the controversy centered on officiating, Caitlin Clark's role became emblematic of something larger: the evolution of player power in professional sports. She isn't just a player putting up numbers, she's a cultural force. Her ability to draw record crowds and television audiences has changed the perception of what women's basketball can be. Her name brings sponsorships, headlines, and, perhaps most importantly, accountability. The league couldn't ignore the optics. Clark's rising stardom put a spotlight on everything surrounding her, from team dynamics to leadership decisions. And when the calls on the court felt tilted against her, the public response was swift and loud. Fans weren't simply defending a favorite player, they were standing up for fairness, equity, and the future of the game. Even under the weight of controversy, Clark remained composed. Her response, measured and professional, reinforced the idea that she's not just talented, but a leader. In an environment where it's easy to lash out, Clark let others do the talking while continuing to play with grace and grit. A league forced to look in the mirror. The fallout from the scandal prompted urgent questions within the WNBA. How consistent is the officiating? Are there internal checks to ensure fairness? What happens when players speak up? The answer, at least for now, appears to be reform. In the wake of Engelbert's suspension, the WNBA has committed to reviewing and improving its officiating systems. League officials promised enhanced referee training, better communication with players, and a transparent reporting structure. These are promising steps, but for many, they're long overdue. The scandal highlighted a crucial truth. Today's athletes, especially those with the platform and popularity of Caitlin Clark, won't quietly accept unfair treatment, and fans are watching. The WNBA is no longer just competing for ratings, it's competing for credibility. The expectation now is that it will listen to players, protect their interests, and foster a fair playing environment. Redemption, reform, and a path forward. With Engelbert out and reforms underway, the WNBA enters a pivotal period. Trust must be rebuilt, not just with players like Clark, but with fans who feel let down. The league's future will be shaped by how seriously it takes this moment. Words alone won't suffice. Action is what matters. Clark, meanwhile, has emerged stronger. The scandal could have overshadowed her rookie year, but instead, it amplified her impact. She's no longer just an athlete to watch, she's a symbol of change, a reminder that the standards in women's sports must rise with the talent. Her experience has made it clear that the infrastructure of the league must evolve to support the players leading it into the spotlight. As the WNBA moves forward, Caitlin Clark remains at the heart of the transformation. Her journey from celebrated college star to embattled pro rookie may not have gone as expected, but it may prove to be one of the most important stories in the league's history, not because of a controversial whistle, but because of what followed: a reckoning, a realignment, and perhaps a renaissance. This scandal has flipped the WNBA upside down. A commissioner suspended, fans demanding answers, and Caitlin Clark caught in the center of it all. This is no longer just about bad calls. It's about integrity, transparency, and the future of the league. Will this lead to real reform, or is it just the beginning of a deeper controversy? One thing's for sure, the WNBA will never be the same again. Hit that subscribe button. We're just getting started.